Welcome to Reality Compromised, a 1v12 asymmetrical game based around the hit series Madness Combat. If you've ever been around Newgrounds, which I'm sure a pretty decent amount of people have, you would know that Madness Combat was a really huge thing. And though it's not really that talked about as much nowadays, it was big. Very, very big back then, and it still pretty much is, if anything. I'll link the Madness Combat series down in the description if you want to watch it, because I would highly recommend it. It's extremely fun and very good, very entertaining. Essentially, in this game, you either play as a grunt, or I guess just a player, right? And you have to face off against a mercenary. Mercenaries in this game are technically just like boss enemies, right? You can play as one of these bosses, which are the mercenaries, and you can fight against up to 12 players. And basically the player's objective is to kill the mercenary, and the mercenary's objective is to kill all 12 of the players. It can be up to 12 players, but usually it isn't always that many people in this game, considering it's pretty small as of right now. But I think it's an incredibly fantastic game. But when I say fantastic, I mean the concept. It's fantastic. Visually, it's fantastic from a standpoint, right? It's fantastic. Balancing wise, it needs a lot of work, which is understandable. It's a pretty newer game, but you know, I honestly think it has pretty decent potential to be one of the cooler games on Roblox, one of the hidden gems, because it's genuinely just that fun. I am just honestly just blown away that this game has been able to entertain me for this long, because usually games like these don't really interest me as much, but now with this type of like layout for an asymmetrical game, it's a bunch of, you know, different players versus a boss, rather than it just be like, oh, it's like one like killer monster and they have to run away in fear. But no, instead, you have to just aggress and defeat the mercenary, like, work as a team, like, for real, because this game is, you know, very team-based, right? If you don't have a good team, then you're probably going to lose to the mercenary, and if you're not good as a mercenary, then you're going to lose to the team, because I would honestly say that from this game's current standpoint, it's more sided against the mercenaries, as some of the mercenaries feel rather weak. Either that, or just the skill gap between some mercenaries is very, very massive. Like, it's excruciatingly annoying how different most of the mercenaries are from each other. And I don't mean that in like a gameplay standpoint, because obviously they're going to be different, right? It's an asymmetrical game. They're obviously going to be unique and different from each other. But I mean it from like, some of them are just broken, and then some of them are just dumb. Like, crap. Don't even play as them. Like, I'm not saying that they're horrible. They are very, you know, hard to use in some aspects and require actually decent amount of skill. And then some of them are just brain dead, which sucks. I think that sucks a lot. I really enjoy these types of games, and the fact that there's still such an abundance of, like, you know, brain dead characters and horrible balancing in most games, it kind of sucks. But I'll give this game the benefit of the doubt, right? It's still pretty new. They still have a lot of things that they need to implement, so, you know, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It has a lot of potential, and it can be a very fantastic game. And it just needs better balancing. That's pretty much it. I think this game is extremely fun, and while there can be some circumstances that are very unfair, it's still a work in progress, and I think it's going very well. I think this game is just doing perfectly fine. And you may say what you want about the balancing and stuff, but you gotta understand, this is a newer game. Give it its criticism, but don't hate on the game. It's just doing its best, right? It's trying its hardest. So yeah, I think this game's pretty cool. So let's get into how the game exactly works fundamentally, right? There's obviously different things you can do in the game, right? There is the shop, where you can purchase guns and other loadouts for your grunt, or I guess as a player. Obviously, you can buy primaries, secondaries, you know, stuff to protect you, you know, things you can throw, all these cool things that I think are pretty nice. And I like that the guns are actually pretty affordable and you can get stuff pretty quickly. That's one of the things that I like about these types of games. The grind isn't always you know, too high. Like, I think grinding for most of the mercenaries is actually pretty easy. Usually you get more money when you win as a mercenary, and it's also scaling on how many kills you get as a mercenary, so depending on how many kills, how much money you get. But most of the time, getting money is pretty quick. You can buy guns and get pretty, you know, high in rank pretty quickly, and I like that. I think that's good. I think that's extremely fun. I don't know if that'll be changed in the future, but I think where it's at right now is pretty freaking good. I like it a lot. There's also emotes you can buy here, this little rift area. I like the way it lets you pick the emotes. It's like a little card game. I like that. It's pretty unique. And yeah, that's pretty cool. I like the emotes too. They're pretty funny. And obviously there's this, you know, little section where you can buy your mercenaries, right? You can purchase different mercenaries, obviously all of them being the main characters of Madness Combat. They're all extremely unique from each other, and they all play in mostly different ways. Some of them are kind of similar to each other, and then some of them are just very unique, which I like a lot. I think they're very, very cool, but they just need more balancing. Obviously, some of them have a few bugs, and then some of them have a lot of bugs that are pretty exploitable, which is really annoying. And like I said before, some of them are obviously super stronger than others, and then some of them are just pretty weak and require actual skill to utilize them efficiently, which it's whatever. Again, the game is still pretty new. Give it some time. Well, it's not super new, but it's still not super old. So again, give it some time. It has potential. There are also little, you know, events that can happen in the games where you can get these little hazards, I'd like to call them, where you can either get big heads or you can be tiny, things like that. I think it's pretty freaking cool, but I just wish there was more, like, you know, actual hazards, like things that could happen during the game. Like this one where it's like a hazard where it teleports you to random spots randomly. It randomly, you know, teleports a certain amount of people to different spots on the map. I think that's pretty cool. I wish they would do more things like that rather than just, you know, making it so that way it changes how your body is or something like that, right? Making big head, tiny. You get the idea. I think that would be, you know, a much better change of pace. There's also one of the things that I think is really cool is the laboratory, which in here you can see the origins, which essentially this is where you pick your class for your agent, so that way you don't have to be, you know, the same thing over and over again. Essentially, you can choose between two factions, the AHW, right, and the Mercs, right? I think it's pretty freaking cool. You can get experience for them just by simply playing the characters from that faction. So in this case, for the AHW, you would have to play as the Mag Agent Torture. And then, of course, for the Mercs, it's pretty obvious who you have to play as, right? If you've seen Madness Combat, you should know, right? And then you just get experience for them. As soon as you unlock them, you can then just equip that, you know, class that you have unlocked, and then just play as them, and then you get experience for that. And then you can continuously unlock different classes, and it's pretty freaking cool. I like it a lot. This is very good implementation of like classes for characters, and it works very well because of the style of game. I like it a lot. It's just fun. All right, that's just the way I can put it. All right, I'm bad at explaining things. It's just fun. I love this a lot. It's very, very unique. You can also do these little boosts, which are pretty useless. Don't really bother with these. They're not the most useful thing in the world, if I'm being honest. That's just how I see it. I mean, I just don't usually use them as much because they're just pretty useless to me. It's just a waste of money. And then there's also the documents section, which here you can read on the mercenaries that you can play as, so that way you can understand their kits, because you can see what their abilities do and you can understand how they work, which I think is pretty freaking cool. I like this a lot. More games should do this, because there are a couple of games out there that I know, a couple of asymmetrical games out there that I know that don't really have things like this. They don't show what the abilities are. It's mostly the games that are, you know, the bigger on the platform, which I guess it makes sense. They still need to implement newer stuff, but I'm glad that this game implemented that, you know, in the early progressions of its development, right? That's good. I like that. But yeah, I think that's all I can really say about the game. It's extremely fun, and I would highly recommend playing with friends. It's just all around fun. There's just nothing I can really say about it as much now, because again, it's still decently new. Not like super new, like No Escape, right? Or something like that. It's just, you know, in its early, it's in developments, right? It's just adding new stuff as stuff goes along. There's obviously a bunch of things that need to be implemented, a bunch of bugs that need to be fixed, things like that, which is understandable, right? Balance changes, you get the idea. But where it's at right now, I think it's extremely fun. It's an extremely great game. Most of the killers are very, well, I say most, but I really think that all of the killers, I think all of the mercenaries are extremely fun to play against and play as. They're just really fun. And you know, find which mercenary is good for you, because obviously not everyone's going to be the same, but I would highly recommend, you know, checking each mercenary out if you ever play the game for the first time. And yeah. Also, my favorite character from Madness Combat is Jeebus. I think that's quite obvious from my recent posts, you know, my community posts, because I love this guy. I think it's great. I literally saved up all my money just so I could buy this guy as my first, you know, mercenary, and I do not regret it. He's extremely fun to play. But yeah, that's all. And thanks for watching. Bye.